Good morning. We're
Hi,
off
Jake.
to quite the
Hi.
Friday start.
Thanks
Hi,
for coming
Zach.
today.
Of course.
Thank you for coming to rescue us.
You know what? This is the
From
highlight
ourselves.
of my. Here's how much I love doing this show. I email Jenna every morning and say, "Can I come on the show?"
And then you text her
Can
too, right?
Come on I do. Can I come
Yeah,
on the show?
she probably
I
loves it.
love coming on.
Aw, you should come every day.
Well, I would. I was, you guys. I was just on location in Detroit for a little on location shoot with Gordon Ramsay yesterday.
No
So I just got
way.
back. Yeah.
I
So-
didn't know
How
that.
Yeah.
was that? Give us an update. It was your first time to Detroit.
First time in Detroit, it was great. Can't really talk too much about what we saw and everything, but Gordon Ramsay is a friend of the show. He always comes on a couple times a year. He's about the nicest guy you'll ever meet, which is
Off
ironic.
camera.
Yeah, it's
Off camera.
ironic because his whole bit is yelling at people, man. But I got
Yeah.
to tell you, he's I saw him. I stayed overnight, got in to Detroit on Wednesday. And,
Detroit proper, like you were in
yep,
the city.
Yep, right off Michigan Avenue, as it were.
Wow.
And
They
saw
have
him,
a Michigan Avenue. in
Yeah,
Detroit. Wow.
yeah.
Would you look at that?
And saw him in the hotel the night before he came over. Big hug, just a
Aw.
little. He's always a very nice guy. Whenever people ask, because we get the chance to meet so many people, who are among the nicest people that I've ever met, I make a point to name him because I feel like his whole persona is being mean
That's
to
so
people,
Yeah.
but he's really
interesting.
not. He's
Usually I feel
genuinely
like that's
nice
the
guy.
case, right?
He's the nicest guy.
What a
Right.
good
Yeah.
actor.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you. Happy to be back.
You have got some. This is not Star Wars news, but it's Luke Skywalker.
Listen, I was lucky enough last week to interview Mark Hamill, and if you know me well enough, you know that putting me in an interview room with Mark Hamill is a risky thing because literally off to my right, where I'm doing my interviews are not one but two framed lightsabers and a framed signed Star Wars poster.
Does he love it?
But I had to focus because I didn't really want to talk Star Wars because he's, that was coming up on 50 years ago, believe it or not.
No
It was a long time ago in a
way.
galaxy far,
Wait,
far away.
how old was he?
He would have
in
been
that
early
movie?
20s. Yeah, because it came out in
So now he's in
77.
his 70s.
Yeah.
Wow.
But-
in the movie, how old is Luke supposed to be in Episode 4?
That's a good question. I don't know. Do they
17?
even
Like a
do they even
teenager.
go by
Seems
like
like
traditional ages and on
yeah,
Tatooine?
right.
Who knows?
Huh.
But he's got a really great new movie that, coming out that we'll talk about. But listen, I didn't even necessarily bring up Chicago. I didn't know he was telling me that once upon a time he performed Amadeus here in Chicago and told a great story about how great the theater town is, and not even an iconic Chicago snowstorm could keep people away.
And I
Good to
love
see you both.
Chicago. I played
Chicago loves
Chicago
you.
in Amadeus. What a theater town that is. One time I got up, it was such a blizzard you couldn't even see the street from the lobby. And I said, there's not going to be a show today. I've been in LA where there's a light rain and 30% of the people don't come. Do you know not one person passed? It was a sold-out house, and everybody showed up. I said, now that's a theater city. That's Chicago.
Mr. Hamill,
What
That's
better
Chicago.
to do? It's a
I
bad
know.
day outside.
Yeah,
You gotta
exactly
go
right.
inside
Go
and
see,
sun.
yeah. So he is in, Caitlin and I were just talking about this movie. He's in a really great new movie coming out called The Life of Chuck. That is actually my favorite movie so far this year. It's based on a short story by Stephen King. And I know when people hear Stephen King, automatically you think of what? You think of The Shining, you think of horror movie, It, exactly. But this is more in the vein of, if you're familiar with like The Shawshank Redemption, Stand By Me, Green Mile. It is such a beautiful movie. The closest thing I can use to describe it is, I've been telling people, It's a Wonderful Life if It's a Wonderful Life were written by Stephen King. So it's got that. It's got a little bit of that Stephen King kind of twist. It's very life affirming. It's a beautiful movie. So it opens in a handful of theaters around Chicago this weekend. And then next week does that, what they call the rollout, the wide release. So if it's not near you in Chicago right now, give it a week, it will be.
And this is the actor from who plays Loki.
Loki,
right?
Tom Hiddleston. Yeah, so Tom Hiddleston plays, so it kind of goes through, the movie's called Life of Chuck. It goes through the life of Chuck. And so we did see Chuck at different ages. And so one of the ages is Tom Hiddleston.
Got it.
Great
Okay.
actor. Most people know him as Loki from the Marvel films. He's been in studio here before. Yeah, just a really great movie. I'll tell you just the quick pitch for the movie. Basically, it begins with the world ending, people acknowledging like power's going out, internet's going down, stars are starting to disappear from the sky. People are starting to think this is the end. We may only have weeks, months, days left. And all of a sudden they start seeing billboards for a guy named Chuck. And it says, Chuck, thanks for 39 great years. They start seeing skywriting. Thanks, Chuck. They start hearing advertisements on the radio, like, oh, we just like to thank Chuck for 39 great years, and everyone's going, the world is ending. Who is Chuck? What is this? The world is ending. We don't even, and everyone collectively in this small town starts going, who is Chuck? The world is about to explode. Why are we worried? And that's how the movie begins.
And that's all he'll tell you.
And that's all I will tell you.
I have a bone to pick with you, Jake.
Go.
I talked to Jake about this movie on air, and I was like, okay, on the commercial, I'm going to get the inside outs of this movie. That's all he told me.
That's all.
He's a
and
very
he just
cryptic
shared it
individual.
with everybody else.
You know, Jake,
that was not
I've
even a
respected
secret.
Well, I
over
didn't
the
want to
years.
take up too much. We have time to talk on Chicago now. You know, on Good Day Chicago, we got to keep it,
What is
sound
your-
bites, not sound meals.
I have noticed that, Jake, you are very responsible with your spoiler
Sure.
alerts and when you choose to disclose things. Run us through kind of your own statute of limitations. For example, when you talk about a movie from the 90s, it's been out for example, all the John Wicks, you know what I mean? You gave me the premise. You went on a little bit because there's kind of a statute of limitations, and all of a sudden things are fair game.
Yeah, you know, but I'm of two minds about it. You know, I asked one time. I don't mean to let me pick up this name I'm about to drop, but I interviewed M. Night Shyamalan one time, famous director known for surprise endings. He did The Sixth Sense. And I asked him that very question about what is the statute of limitation, because by this point, The Sixth Sense is over 25 years old, which is great. It came out in 1999.
Whoa.
Still arguably one of, if not the most
best.
famous twist endings of all time. And so I asked him, at what point can you just sort of openly talk about the fact that, you know, you know? And he said, I'm going to be honest with you. He goes, never. Ooh. He said, and here's why. He said, because younger audiences are still discovering these movies. He said, he goes, if a kid who did not, think about it now, a 15-year-old was born in 2010.
Right.
Stumbles across this movie called The Sixth Sense. It was
don't
out
wanna
a
ruin
decade.
it.
He goes, don't ruin it for them. He goes, how great would it be? And I know what he's talking about. I love whenever I come across someone and I go, oh my God, have you seen Seven? And they go, no, I don't know what that is. And I go, oh, you don't know the ending to Seven? And see, then who am I to say, oh, well, because in the ending of, do you know let me tell you what's in the box. What's in the box? What's in the box?
Let me ask you one more thing. Sorry to hog Jake
Go
right
ahead,
now,
you
Caitlin.
go, yeah.
Social media.
Yes.
Okay, so I am on X, formerly known as Twitter.
Sure.
Where we're following things like the White Lotus.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, did you see?
Yeah.
What is the proper etiquette on those platforms where it's a real-time conversation?
Listen, I think be respectful. I think in the same way that, particularly because people, we forget people. Just because a show airs at 8 p.m. on Sunday night doesn't mean people have kids, people have families. It doesn't mean that they're available to watch it at 8:01. I'm not saying that you can't openly talk, but in the same way that you wouldn't go up to someone at work on Monday morning and go, hey, that person died on the show that you love. Just keep it to yourself. I think on social media, I say give it a week before you're tweeting spoilers, just to be respectful, because you can't control what you're seeing. I get so nervous, about anytime. That's why I make a point to something like White Lotus, especially when it's the finale and you're going to find out who dies. I make a point to I gotta watch it. I have to, because
right.
Would you get in trouble if you told us the secrets of these movies that you're going to see?
Here's what I'll tell you. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I have some pretty highly anticipated TV episodes that are not out yet.
And you've watched them.
You have them.
Yes, and I have them.
Sworn
Sworn to secrecy. Currently watching them. I'll tell you when we're not broadcasting. Currently super
So do they send
spoiler
you a
filled.
note that says do not?
It basically just says hey, be respectful of people. Because by getting this sort of stuff, and I'm getting them because I'm interviewing cast members of this show that I'm watching. And it is a privilege to be able to get to do this. And it is a privilege to get to see the stuff that we get to see, particularly when we see it early. And you don't want to ruin it for people. I would be angry if I were on the reverse side of it, and I was someone that was looking forward to this TV show, or a movie coming out, and someone who got to see it before me went on and spoiled it. I would be furious at that person. So I don't ever want to be the reason that someone has something ruined for them.
Aw, Jake, you're so good at what you do.
That is very
keep
he's a
going.
pro.
You are so
Keep
passionate.
going.
Quick story from my 7th grade English class. We were reading of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck,
Yeah.
and one kid loved to read ahead. And we would have a discussion about the book every day, and this kid read ahead. And as I think we're past the statute of elimination on John Steinbeck novels, but the main character, it's a mercy killing at the end of the other character, Lenny and George, and the kid brought it up, and I'm not kidding, my English teacher was nearly in tears. because she was so passionate about the book and pulled the kid aside, I remember, at the end of the day and just said, like, Alan, that was so...
That really broke my heart.
Because it was like her whole unit, you know what I mean? Her whole unit. And the class is actually into the book, which is kind of hard for 7th graders.
Yeah, exactly. And, and he probably, from a 7th grader's perspective, probably thought, oh, I'm going to impress the teacher by showing her what I know.
Exactly. And he talked about, I think this foreshadows the end when blah, 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 blah. And she was just like, no.
And look, and you still remember that.
After this day.
With kids, it's really hard, too, because you want everything to be magical. Speaking of magical things, I don't know if there's kids in earshot of this show, but
assume there are.
Other kids,
assume there are.
Right, can ruin that for them. I feel like, and then as a parent, you get devastated. So feeling like that teacher did.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's funny because I was less concerned for myself, like the ending was spoiled, and more concerned for the teacher. I felt bad for the teacher.
Yeah, because I mean, she had done the impossible. She'd gotten a bunch of 7th graders inspired and into a 60-year-old novel.
Right.
Like, how difficult is that? That's and much harder to do these days, I'd imagine.
I can't believe I'm talking about this 30 years after it happened.
That's the point, though. Like, so it goes back, swings back around to our spoiler conversation. Ruining something for someone can have a deep impact on them.
Indeed.
So you're really good at keeping secrets.
I try to. I really try to. I do. Like, I'll watch a trailer. But I try to just keep people from, because I want you guys to, I want you to see Life of Chuck, and so I want
to see Life of Chuck and Sinners now, because those have been your top 2 picks of the year.
Those are my 2 favorite movies of the year.
I'm nervous that it's going to make my heart sad. You said you left the movie theater crying,
but in a good Life of, in the same way I would
Shawshank.
Like Shawshank, if you've ever seen, Shawshank is a heavy movie, but they're working on that boat, and what is it, San Wataneo?
Say Wataneo.
You know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
Okay.
You ever seen Shawshank?
We'll get you
Another
on
great surprise ending.
Loved it.
Another great surprise ending.
So Hollywood
Sixth Sense
Studios.
really messed me up.
Oh
Sixth
yeah,
Sense, it's an all-time classic. All time.
So
Jake,
good.
come back anytime.
You know
come
what?
You're not
back
leaving.
anytime.
Oh, I am leaving.
What? You can't stay?
I'm going to interview Sydney Sweeney.
Go get you a donut and sit.
No
Sydney
fair.
Sweeney.
Yeah.
Oh.
No fair.
Yeah. Are we going to talk about her bathwater?
I
don't
am.
know, maybe.
You are definitely going to ask about her bath.
I feel like
her
I have to.
bathwater soap.
Yeah.
All right, we got some
Love
fun
that.
stuff to talk about. Alfresco Dining in Chicago. We are going to be talking to the person with the best front row seat to dining across the country. Open Table. Open Table, okay? This is like a C-level executive from Open Table.
Oh, I literally just used Open Table like 2 hours ago.
Hey,
to the place that we're going
tonight.
Yeah.
You guys are going out tonight?
We have a pro day. Don't worry about
We
it.
had a pro day.
Where are you going?
Jeremy Piven,
Yeah,
friend of
we're
the
going
show.
friend of the show. Going to see
Friend
Jeremy
of
Piven.
Chicago
Lots.
Now.
Yeah.
About that visit
Yeah, the
when I
Vic.
wasn't here.
Yes.
Yeah.
It
He asked
was
about you.
very memorable.
Yes,
Caitlin.
it was.